So I'm going to show you how to put a dress or a zipper into an actual dress. So here's my dress. The first step is to flip it over to the back and line up your seams because we're going to baste along the actual outside seam. So you need your dress inside out. And then starting from the very top, this one's a little complicated because there's trim involved, but I know where my top seam is. And then starting from this top seam, you're going to pin along this, which I'm just going to do really roughly for right now. Your waistline should measure up, hopefully. If not, I have had it come close once or twice, and you can do a little finagling in this piece down to the gathered line to kind of try and get it to work a little better. So I'm going to pin along this whole margin down to where my zipper seam stops in the back, and then we'll go to sew. Alright, so now I've moved over to my sewing machine, and in this case I do have on a walking foot, so this foot might not look like your sewing machine. This is a special foot I'm using for this project. It sews just the same. I'm going to line this up and do a wide basting stitch, and this stitch is going to be removed, so it is sometimes helpful to use a color that's not matching your material because you're going to be pulling this thread out. And I'm just going to baste along this whole seam where I'm eventually going to lay my zipper at about a stitch length of about a 3 or a 4. So this is the seam that you're later going to press open and line your zipper up along. So after I sew this, we'll be pressing it open with an iron. Right, so I've basted my back seam where my zipper is going to go, and then I've pressed it open. Now, if you notice, there's enough meat of the dress, enough leftover fabric on either side for me to put my zipper in and have a place to stitch it down. My first seam did not allow for that at the waist, so I did rip it out and do it over again. This is really important as far as getting your dress to come together nicely. Now I'm going to lay the seam of my zipper, and I am using an invisible zipper here just kind of for fun. So this straight line on the zipper, this is the good side of my zipper, I'm going to lay face down on the seam so that when we go at the end and take those basting stitches out, my zipper will be right there. So I'm going to lie it along here, and I'm going to pin it down each side. I'm going to pin it across, actually, just like this, because we have one more step between this and when we sew it in with our sewing machine. So, and generally I use a few more pins on this, but for the sake of this. And then yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a hand sewing needle. We're going to hand sew just basting stitches, large basting stitches, this zipper in place. Okay, so starting at the top, and I have a good old-fashioned knot in my thread here to hold it. Just do long stitches along the side of your zipper. You know, this really takes about an extra 2 minutes, possibly, as opposed to skipping this step and just pinning it, but the end result is 10 times better. I have to say this is the #1 tip that I have found as far as installing a zipper that really yields a much more professional result. So we will pick up after I've got this pinned and basted in and are ready to sew it in with the machine. So now you can see I've basted my zipper in place the whole way down both sides and across the bottom. This helps me know where the end of my seam is so that I know where to cross over the zipper. It's a good idea before you actually sew it in place to check the other side. Make sure you haven't puckered the actual dress at any place along your basting with your basting or pinning. So what I have here is an adjustable zipper foot on my machine. You might have just a regular zipper foot like this. You can put in a zipper very nicely with this foot. This is just a little bit nicer and allows you to choose which side of the zipper you're going to go down with the presser foot. So this project's a little bit different, and I'm actually going to have to change thread colors, but I'll show you how to do down this side. So when you've got a whole dress, it's very important. See, I have my arm off. Make sure that nothing on the underside of your dress is getting caught in your stitches. It's a good idea to actually be, you know, have a hand up the dress, a hand up your skirt while you're sewing this in, just to make sure that you're not getting the front part of your bodice in. So as you see right there, I have it lined up, and now this is going to be the stitch that is going to hold my zipper in. So you want about a 2.5 stitch to line that up. And just like sewing absolutely anything, you know, just like you're sewing any normal seam. So you go forward and backward, and feed it through from there. So I'm going to go down the one side of the zipper, down the other side of the zipper, and then we'll come back and show you how to go around the bottom. Thank you. I've sewn up the top part of my dress that has the lighter color, and now I'm sewing in the bottom part of the dress with the darker color. As you can see, I have my hand under here, making sure that I'm not getting another part of the dress or skirt in my stitching. So this first part here is going to be just like when I was stitching the top. I'm going to tighten in my stitch right there, and then carefully holding on, I'm going to sew right down along the edge of the zipper, down to where I get to my cross stitch right there, where I went right across the zipper. I'm going to turn, just like turning any corner, put my foot down, and I'm going to sew right across that. Plain and simple. Seems like it would be a problem, but I think those zippers are just made to handle it. Now, this is always fun and special anytime you get to sew in a dress, the whole dress attached. Luckily for me, this is only a short part, but on occasion I will at this point stop, go back and start over at the top. But since I'm only going about this 3 inches, I shouldn't have a problem here. Put my presser foot down, and again just start sewing up right along next to my zipper. So at this point I'm going to stop, free myself from my sewing machine, which of course is a little tricky. Careful not to get your dress caught in your automatic and your thread cutter if you have one on your machine. So at this point, I have my zipper sewn in, but it's still frozen on this side. So we're going to use our seam ripper to pull out all these stitches right here along here. If you want to pause first. So right now, just what I wanted to show you is the stitches that you're going to pull out. See, be very careful because it's the satiny material, but you're going to pull out your stitches, and as you do that, you're going to see your zipper is going to open up and be obvious right there. You're also going to pull out, in my case, the red stitches that were just the basting stitches holding the zipper in place. So I'm going to clean this up, show you what it looks like, and then show you how to go about finishing up the zipper in just a few minutes. Alright, so you can see here I have my zipper. I guess when I was taking out my stitches I caught that little part right there, so I'll have to get a little bit up there. But opens up just great, no problems there. The one little thing that did sneak past me is my little lace trim right there was ruffled up, so I will have to go back and fix that, but that shouldn't be very much of a big deal. And if you had a simpler dress that didn't have a ruffle, you wouldn't have a problem. Now, the trick to finish it is, if you have a lining, you're going to cut off the extra trim at the top of your zipper, fold this under, make a nice seam, so that your finished product, all that'll be showing is just your bodice pressed in next to your dress, like so. So that would be your finished product right there, just with a little hidden slip stitch right along the edge. So if you have a pattern that tells you to slip stitch the lining, that's what it's talking about. Hopefully you have enough bodice that you can fold it under. It does make it a little nicer seam right in there. And then at the top, if you're doing a